The Susan Brender Show is a radio show online broadcasted on YouTube across the United States and globally. The show features guests who speak about health, spirituality, entertainment, and a host of subjects to enlighten people across the nation. Listen to the show that empowers women and men alike and highlights those who have made a difference.
David Trujillo is the executive director of Community Professionals, his production company. He's the member of the National Writers Union and a longtime union community activist. He is the producer, playwright, journalist, writer, and storyteller. He received his master's degree from UMASS-Amherst. David lives in Los Angeles, California, and he continues to write. I want to ask you, David, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you seem like a very interesting guy.
Well, I've had an interesting life. I grew up, for those who aren't familiar with California, there's two major cities, San Francisco up north, Los Angeles down south. I grew up in the farmlands of California in a small farming town named Fresno, California. And my parents were farm workers. So I worked in the fields since I was at the age of, 6, as long as I can remember, picking cotton, oranges, grapes, tomatoes, etc. And, we weren't a wealthy family. We weren't even a middle-class family. We were pretty poor, but we survived. And I had the opportunity, though, to go to college. I had to make a choice between living under the conditions that existed at the time or improve myself and get an education. And of course, I took the education route and got into college. And then from there, I got into the labor movement and continued writing some plays. People along the way helped me along, and I continue writing today. So that's a summary of my background. And as a writer, I do continue to go back and reflect on a lot of activity that had occurred during my youthful years in the farmlands and with my family. And I write a lot about that, and a lot of my plays are about that. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I reflect quite a bit, and I think it comes across in my writings.
Yeah. I understand that you're published by Rebel Anthologies, a collection of works from different authors, founded by Katrina Halusko, a very, very interesting woman. The tagline is, "Beginnings and ends can be so predictable. The middle is where the magic is." How did she find you?
Well, that's very interesting, because I had been writing, and I have a catalog of writings and plays, and I hadn't been looking around for a publisher, and because I had in the past, I'd had some very bad experiences with publishing companies, and I decided a long time ago that I just wanted to do my writings, be creative, and if and when I could, I would hold readings in the community and share my writings with the community at large. Again, I wasn't really looking for a publishing company, but then the National Writers Union put out an email some time back, and they mentioned Rebel Anthologies. And I am a member of the National Writers Union. So I thought, well, if the National Writers Union is putting this publishing company out for its members to look at, maybe I should take a chance and look at this publishing company. And I'm glad I did, because I submitted some works, and it was a very nice exchange we had with the publishing company, and the rest is history. I submitted my articles, and we developed them together in terms of what we wanted to put out. And it's been a very pleasant, a very intellectual, a very respectable relationship, Rebels Publishing Company. So that's how we came together.
Yeah. Well, I know you have some material in the release book, Fresh Voices and Visions, but can you tell us more about your playwriting and your writing style?
Well, this is a very opportune time, because as we speak, I'm in the process of producing a play here in Los Angeles called Vincent. It's a play by Leonard Nimoy, and I'm staging it, of course, with the special arrangement with the Dramatic Publishing Company. And tomorrow, which is Thursday, we actually have our dress rehearsal.
That is fantastic.
The play.
Tell us more about the play.
The opening night is Friday, and we're excited about that. We're holding this play, Vincent, about. It's not about so much about Vincent van Gogh as the performer in the play, but it's about his brother Theo. And Theo comes on stage, and Theo talks about his brother Vincent. Over the course of their brief relationship as brothers, Vincent wrote over 500 letters to Theo, covering everything you can imagine: his art, his religion, his love life, his paintings. And so this is what the play's about. Theo comes out and he talks about Vincent, his brother, which at the timeline, his brother had passed away a couple of weeks prior to this whole reflection by Theo. And it's also a multimedia presentation. So as Theo is talking about Vincent van Gogh, his paintings are presented to the audience on a screen. So we have Theo talking about Vincent, and then we have his paintings. What's exciting about this particular staging is that we're holding it in a art studio. So we had permission by Margaret Garcia Art Studio to use her working art studio as a platform for the play. So we have Vincent the artist, the play being staged in an art studio. We didn't want to do it in a traditional theater because who the artist was, Vincent. And it's so far has been very exciting in terms of planning and staging. But to make it contemporary also, we didn't just want to have a historical perspective of Vincent van Gogh and his paintings. We also wanted to make it relevant to today's artists. And that's
when you talk, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
When you talk about today's artists, how does Vincent compare to the artists of today?
Oh, well, he's influenced, I would say almost every artist out there has had some influence made by Vincent van Gogh in terms of their coloring, their swirling, their perspective on the creative work. And so in our play, we're going to also highlight 3 women artists of today. And so the play is going to show the comparisons of Vincent van Gogh's paintings and his relationship to the painters of today. So his influence is just immense. I mean, I would think most artists probably would say they were influenced in some way by Vincent van Gogh. So it's exciting. That's actually what I'm doing right now as we're talking. I'm getting ready to have the dress rehearsal tomorrow and the opening day on Friday, and it runs for 2 weeks. And that's just one aspect of my writing, and that's this particular staging of the play Vincent.
David, you have to have an audience, don't you? Where do you get them from?
Well, let me kind of take a step back, and this also refers to the Rebels anthology. I had some bad experiences working with the traditional theaters, traditional publishers, and executives, etc. And I decided 5 years ago, whatever it is, to actually write, promote, and finance my own plays so I can do it the way I want it to be done. And in terms of the audience, we do our own promotion. In this particular play, we have the local community that we have the art studio. And so I do it outreach very broadly through the social media, through my contacts nationwide, through my, I have a list of over 300 of friends and associates that are interested in my work. But a 2-pronged attack, I do it in a universal sense, very, very broad. And then I narrow it down to a very specific group of individuals that are showing interest in buying the tickets. And it seems to work out quite well. And as I put out my plays, there's more interest in who I am and in my works. So the word gets out and people want to come and see my plays.
Right. There are samples of your 2 plays in the book. What are these plays about? I know you talked a little bit about it, but I want you to repeat it because it sounds like such an interesting play. Tell us about them once more.
Again, like I said, I'm producing the play Vincent right now, but the two plays that I have excerpts in the book, one particular play is called Many May Not Return, and it's an anti-war play. Again, it's based on my experiences growing up in the San Joaquin Valley, farm worker family, and it documents the trials and tribulations that a family goes through when their sons and daughters make decisions about going into the military. And it's a period piece. It's about a particular very strong family of brothers and sisters who are dealing with poverty, and they want to get out, and some of the brothers decide to join the military, and two of the brothers go off to Vietnam, and there's a whole issue of coming back as a wounded warrior, and how the family deals with that, and actually how over the years from World War II to the Korean War to the Vietnam War, how families have subjected family members to the war efforts. And that's what that first play is about. It was a very interesting play because I actually had veterans come up to me afterwards, and they were crying, and they would say, David, that's exactly what happened to me. Or they would come up to me and say, that particular scene with the mom and the son says, that's exactly what happened. And they sort of opened up about their experiences, which they kept in them for so long. And for a writer, that's exactly what I wanted to accomplish in that play, was to touch somebody. And when these veterans came up to me, not only just veterans, other people also who experienced that time period, were very emotional. And as a writer, that's exactly what I wanted to do, was to emotionally connect with people.
Were you in the military?
No, I wasn't, but I was at that age where I did get drafted, and I did talk to and had seen many of my friends go off to war and come back differently. And that's why I wanted to write this particular play, because it just doesn't affect the soldier that goes off to war, but it affects their families, and it affects generations of families. And it was, it's a very successful play. We staged it here in Los Angeles. We sold out every night, and it was just a very emotional play.
I'm going to ask you, David, a little bit about what's going on today. We're in the Ukraine. Do you think that that's a subject that you want to talk about a little bit more, because it is a tragedy that's going on?
Yes, and that's one message that I wanted to get out in this particular play, because it is an anti-war play. But in the play, I don't preach either way. I don't preach that war is bad, or I don't preach that war is good. I just pose the question: is why is war in our society always an option? And why is that option always includes sending young men and women off to war? And I let the story touch people, and they decide whether they should continue to support war efforts, and or is there another way to do things in terms of nations fighting each other? It's an optimistic approach in terms of hoping that one day, we won't teach a war, or we won't have a war option, but we would have more of a peace approach to our society and to the world. But again, my plays don't preach. We let the story touch people, and those who come to see the play decide for themselves.
David, there is also poetry in Rebel anthologies. David, would you like to read one to our audience?
Yes, I sure would. This particular poem I wrote, and it's an issue that we all are very familiar with. It deals with the homeless, and I focused it narrowly on my neighborhood, And I'm hoping that the descriptions that I present in the poem are something that individuals that have seen or have heard about. And this is called the underbelly of America. Under a concrete bridge lies an independent space. Worried, weary, broken, broke, women abused, overused men, lost lives chasing shadows. Challenging stories, a challenging life. Homeless camps here and there, infested mech-shaped shelters, overcrowded sidewalk nest. Living symbols of institutional failure, immense wealth against homeless mayhem, suppressing motivation, innovation, and personal growth. Unnoticed, unheard, just a glance away. The concrete roof of a freeway underpass, too much grief and tension, too much stress, too much American nonsense, the underbelly of America. And that's the short poem, but it's pretty intense, and it deals with a very relevant issue of today.
Really a great writer. I want you to read one more because I think that the audience wants to hear what you have to say about not only homeless, something else, because I think that you're terrific, absolutely terrific. So, David, give us another one.
Yes, this one I wrote, and it deals with a certain phenomenon that takes place in certain communities, and it has to do with the issue of gangs. In my area, we historically had gangs for generations, and this is a poem that I sort of reflect on that issue of gangs in communities, and it's called Avenue Crackdown. An avenue crackdown. It's a red zone, a head rush. Won't back down. It's not what you think. Cypress Park and Highland Park, homeboys disappear in a blink. Avenue crackdown. LAPD black and white. Elusive chase, red lights flashing. A biased cop illusion. Just a brief interlude with a rare glimpse born of grief and illusion. An avenue crackdown, cocaine powdered induced avenues of dreams rewarded with hard cold cash. Homeboys rushing down the avenues are gone in a flash. An avenue crackdown, released from the big brick house, another release from Corcoran. Doesn't matter, a probation file said it's just another dead end. Avenue crackdown, homeboys gather in playful prayer, another one gone. Cholas and cholas, police and priests in an unholy bond. Avenue crackdown, carjack, hijack, a perfect BMW Rite Aid attack. Police chase down the avenues, uptight in a romantic weed whack. An avenue crackdown, the genia gentrification of a long forgotten fleeing past. Not long ago, avenues lay in shadows while others flip houses for gold. So a little commentary on gentrification, but the main point is the destruction of gangs, not only within themselves, but the community.
Yeah. David, there are a lot of gangs all over the United States now, and our immigrants are coming in and they're being taken advantage of by gangs, and they're bringing in a lot of drugs. And what do you feel about what's happening on the border?
Well, there's different approaches that need to take place. One is to deal with our own consumption here in the United States. There's a lot of people that talk about supply and demand. There's a demand here in the United States and supply that's coming from around the world. So we have to deal with our issues here in the United States in terms of health issues, mental issues, addiction. I didn't mention my last play that I produced. It has to deal with the issue of fentanyl and mental abuse. The play was called The Legacy of a Garage Band. So I used the garage band as a metaphor for society and what happens when an individual gets addicted to drugs, and how a collaborative effort is needed to solve the issue within the band in terms of drugs, and not enabling someone to continue. And that has to be the much more broader picture in society. We have to learn to deal with, collectively, these mental and health addiction problems. So I think, we have to deal with what we call on the supply side. And once that is dealt with, the demand side, and once that is dealt with, the supply side will just disappear, because there's no money, there's no profit in it.
Right. It's all about money. Am I right?
Correct. Right.
Right. You have a lot of writing to do. What's left for you to do? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, after this play, Vincent, I have a new original play. I'm just staging Vincent as a producer, but in the summer I'll have a new play coming out. It's called The Burning Cross, and this is one I'm really excited about, because it deals with three women who work in an industrial laundromat sorting linen, and it has to deal with how they must, on a daily basis, deal with a boss that is sexist and racist. And that's the play. So it's about how these women are going to deal with this particular individual, their boss. It's a Latina woman, a white teenager, and a Black woman who work in this industrial linen place. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
That's going to come out hopefully in the summer, and then I'll continue. I've had some other plays that are in various stages, and as a playwright, you have several major rewrites, and you have table readings, and you do another rewrite, and it takes a while to get these plays to the final staging point.
How can people get in touch with you and find your book or your website?
Well, the best way to get in touch with me is through my Gmail account address, and that's dtmrt1@gmail.com. I'm working on a website right now for my production company, but it's not ready yet. So the best way is through my Gmail, and I get back to everyone, and I give them information and share information. I also have an Instagram address, which is community_professionals_DT. That's my Instagram account, and I post a lot of things on that Instagram.
Where can people buy your book? I think it's really a great book, and you're going to have a lot of success. So where can they find your book?
The Rebels Anthology book of Fresh Voices and Vision can be purchased on Amazon.com. Just again, go to Amazon.com, Fresh Voices and Visions, and it can be purchased at that site.
Okay, David, thank you for being a guest. And would you do the honor of closing out with one more of your poems?
Here's a more lighthearted poem. It's about the area I live in. It's called the Eclectic Highland Park, a beautiful neighborhood, centuries in the making. Street easy, contemporary, and a community just breaking. Avenues east, west with shades of gray. Add me Vida shop, hipsters, dark coffee, and also much more. Eclectic Highland Park, home of unisex salons and colorful galleries, a generic boulevard, and working class blues. Children in the streets playing with innocent excitement. Homeowners complaining about the sidewalk broken. Voices express future in a mixture of class and culture. A child praying for the future at the church altar. Hipsters working for the future. Homeowners, shop owners doing the same. A vested community working together with no one to blame. Beautiful Highland Park, The arroyo wind has blessed the streets. San Gabriel Mountains hovers over the northeast. And that's just again, a commentary on gentrification and the neighborhood I live in.
Well, I want to thank you, David Trujillo, for being on the Susan Brender Show. It's really been a pleasure. And I hope you had a good time in this interview because, needless to say, the poems that you read and your plays are going to be a success. I know that. So thank you again. Bye now.
And I thank you. Bye-bye.